Hello, this is the BBC News with Fiona MacDonald. New Zealand has sent an Air Force plane to the island nation of Tonga to make an initial assessment of the damage caused by Saturday's massive volcanic eruption and tsunami. Communications there are mostly down. Anna Jane Lagi, a student in neighbouring Fiji, has just managed to get in touch with her family in Tonga.
I did hear that my mom and my siblings are good, and hopefully my dad and my auntie as well. We were able to contact them by asking someone who was working at a place where they have a satellite phone, and they were able to contact a few family members and get back to us that they are safe.
Australia says there's no sign of mass casualties, but the International Red Cross says it fears large-scale devastation and is preparing relief operations for people who may now lack drinking water or shelter. The eruption's effects were felt all over the Pacific and beyond. President Biden has called Saturday's hostage standoff in Texas an act of terror. 4 people escaped unharmed after they were held for several hours in a synagogue in a Dallas suburb. The FBI has identified the hostage taker, who died during the siege, as a British citizen named Malik Faisal Akram. Sophie Long has the latest.
There was a statement from the rabbi, Charlie Citron Walker, who was one of the hostages taken. And he said, interestingly, in the last hour of our hostage crisis, the gunman became increasingly belligerent and threatening. And he said, without the instruction we received, we would not have been prepared to act and flee when the opportunity arose. And he was referring to active shooter training that they had received. But that would indicate that they took the opportunity and fled themselves. So we haven't yet had that confirmed by police. But also in a statement from the family of Malik Faisal Akram, they confirmed that he had passed away in Texas, and they also confirmed that he'd been suffering from mental health issues. As a family, they said they were devastated, and they said that they wanted to stress that he actually released the hostages.
One of the most decorated African-American military pilots, Charles McGee, has died aged 102. An original member of the Tuskegee Airmen, an all-black aviation unit formed during the Second World War, Charles McGee flew 409 combat missions during the war and the Korean and Vietnam conflicts. McGee also fought against segregation in the US military, saying the Tuskegee Airmen had tried to ignore the laws then in place.
The country was at war. We were just as interested in supporting that effort as anybody else at that time. And so we turned our back on the fact that there was segregation, if you will, and took advantage of the opportunity to prove that we can fly airplanes, we can maintain airplanes, and those we can do whatever our education and aspirations lead us.
BBC News. The French Parliament has given final approval to the government's latest COVID measures. From Thursday, people older than 16 will have to show a vaccine pass to enter public places like restaurants, cinemas and long-distance trains. A niece of Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei is reported to have been arrested. Sebastian Usher reports.
Although a member of the family of the man at the summit of Iran's theocracy, Farideh Moradhani has been outspoken on a number of human rights issues, including her advocacy for the abolition of the death penalty. Sources close to her say her detention may be linked to an online event she took part in last October when the birthday of the widow of a last Shah was celebrated. She told the former Queen Farah, who was participating remotely, that she was the mother of the nation. Since you left, she went on, the flowers of a nation have weathered and the young generation has lived in despair. Such sentiments are dangerous to express in Iran. Its leaders see growing nostalgia for the era before the 1979 Islamic Revolution as a threat.
The Australian Open tennis tournament is getting underway in Melbourne, but without the participation of the men's world number 1, Novak Djokovic. The build-up to the event was dominated not by the usual concerns over the form and health of the world's best players, but by Djokovic's unvaccinated status and his right to enter the country. The attention is now switching to the sport, with Australia's Ash Barty, the women's world number 1, playing her first match on the opening day. The Greek artist Alekos Phasianos has died after a long illness. He was 86. Phasianos studied lithography in Paris, and he also made ceramics and tapestries. His paintings were frequently compared to works by Matisse and Picasso, but Phasianos also insisted that he drew his inspiration from many different influences. BBC News.